Well, Kuip, the first thing I want to begin with is the fact that you and I have something in common I never even realized until the other day. You're a bowler?
Well, I mean, look, when you're raised in Wisconsin, bowling has to be part of your DNA. Otherwise, you got to leave the state. I mean, because of the winters, people gravitate to what they can do indoors, right? And bowling, by the way, happens to be an indoor sport. But I know you saw something on probably Instagram.
Cole's Instagram. I saw that, yeah. And Danville Bowl is closing, which is our hometown lanes and alleys. So that's why I bring it up, yeah.
Well, if you go in there before it closes, you'll realize that it has to close.
Yeah, I was there the other day.
Yeah.
I get it. It's too bad.
So anyway, I hadn't rolled a ball in 20 years, and the first one I rolled, it was back first, then a hip, and then a knee. And it was like, oh, what happened in the last 20 years? And the first 3 balls I rolled were gutter balls. And I realized that I needed to move over to the next lane where the kids' bumpers were.
Right.
And then once I got the hang of it, I managed to hang in there a little bit, but we didn't keep score. So it's kind of like how I play golf now. You just don't keep score.
Isn't it right up on the screen above you? Do you have no choice to not keep score?
We turned them off. Oh. We turned them off.
I was going to say 200 what? What did you bowl? Anyway, to the topic here of the Giants. And I don't know, you tell me if this is an accurate read of the sentiment here. Whether it's Giants fans or broadcasters or the front office, it feels like the tone is that there's a frustration with mediocrity. And mediocrity is not the worst thing. Giants haven't been a bad team. They just haven't been a great team. They've been almost frustratingly right around the 500 mark for 3 years. Am I reading that right?
Well, I think you're always frustrated if you're super under 500 by 20 games.
Right.
500 means that at some point, where are they going to go? Are they going to go to 85 or 90 wins, or are they going to drop down to 65 or 70 wins? So 500's not ideal. I mean, look, when I was in Cleveland, our goal was always to get to 500. And
right.
That, and 500 doesn't really work, especially in a fan base where, some years ago they were winning world championships, and 2016 they got to postseason and they win 107 games, and they didn't get past the Dodgers. So yeah, you're right. But I will say this: within one press conference, and I'm not talking about the Willie Adames press conference, the one press conference with Buster Posey changed the attitude of the entire organization. What does that mean? Does that mean they go from playing 500 to 8 games over 500, or do they go below 500? I don't know, but I do know this, is the attitude's a lot better. And in his words, okay, if we can win 82, can we somehow figure out a way to win 6 or 7 more games?
Right.
Whether it be with some guy that gets incredibly hot, or the veterans just have career years, or for whatever reason, then you got a shot to get to postseason.
I love one of the Kuiper family sayings, because Glenn used to say this all the time too. Every baseball team's going to win 60 and lose 60, right? So it's what you do with those other 40 in between. And to your point, that's kind of the variable right now. Speaking of Buster, he's got a lot on his plate. He's brand new at this. He's got a huge legacy built in with the Giants fan base already. I'll tell you what I like about it is that he is a magnet for people that want to come work and play for the organization. And forget players for just a second. The fact that Randy Wynn is now in the front office, the fact that I saw JT Snow's been out at spring training, these were people that wanted to be part of the whole thing, and then they weren't maybe offered that opportunity. Now they are. So that's the fact that I love to see about it.
Yeah, I saw something the other day in the Giants spring training complex. They have a huge room, and it's catered, and it's not just for the players. It's for anybody within the organization can eat there. So in other words, an intern could be sitting with, Justin Verlander.
Right. Imagine that.
Which, I'm not saying that happened, but
yeah.
I was actually having lunch with Glenn and we looked across the room and there was Camilo Duvall. And I haven't seen Camilo Duvall's teeth in 3 years.
Doesn't smile a lot?
Doesn't smile. Looks like he's kind of mad. Anyway, I'm looking and he's laughing. And I thought, wow, I actually asked Glenn, I said, is that Duvall? And he said, yeah. And the person that he was with, his back was turned to us. So I got up and I had to see who was making this guy laugh. And it was Santiago Casilla.
Oh, another great one to have back. Absolutely.
Another guy that Buster decided, and Bob Melvin had Santiago Casilla.
I remember. I was there.
So it's just an example of what you're talking about, where you pick a few guys to come back to help, and it doesn't have to be, Jeff Kent or Barry Bonds, although Bonds is going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Scudero's coming. Joe Panic is going to come. It's those types of players that the current players can gravitate to because they had to work hard to get what they got. So anyway, long-winded answer. Yeah, Buster has created an atmosphere where people want to show up. And look, if he can get a little extra out of everybody on that roster, then you do have a chance to win more than 82 games.
I look at the rotation and I see 6 really good arms, and not to disrespect anybody that I'm not aware of, but obviously Webb and Ray and Verlander and Hicks and Harrison and Birdsong. I feel like, though, that Webb is the only one without something to prove. And I don't say that like disrespectfully to a Jordan Hicks. He's got the inning thing, and Verlander and Ray have injuries to overcome. Everybody else besides Logan Webb have something that they need to prove. Am I right about that?
Yeah, and that's all good. And a lot of it is injury.
Right.
They're coming back from injury. Robbie Ray came back last year, but, now, as he said, he hasn't felt as good since he won the Cy Young. The guy to watch is Roop.
Okay.
He's the one guy that, my broadcast partner, Mike Kruko, saw him a year ago and said, he's the guy to watch, and he's having a great spring. Birdsong's having a really good spring. Keaton Wynn threw yesterday, and I guess he threw terrific. So the arms are there. The bullpen's got a chance to be really good. We'll see if they add another left-hander. But you're right. If all these guys have something to prove, and they do prove something, then you got a shot to have a really, really good rotation.
Speaking of something to prove, everybody's so hyped up about Bryce Eldridge. He's just progressed so fast. He played in every minor league level last season, single A to triple A. Such an imposing figure. Bomel told me that he's one of the few that Bob actually has to look up to physically. Can you have patience with him? I mean, the guy's already hitting bombs in Arizona, so he's getting everybody maybe almost too excited.
Well, I mean, I've said this before about young guys. We have to be really careful that we don't put these guys in the Hall of Fame right now. Look, his first game, he strikes out, hits a home run. His next game, he gets a base hit. He gets a little bloop over the third baseman. I'm not sure he's made contact since then. Because it's all going to catch up.
Sure.
I mean, all of a sudden now you're looking at a big leaguer basically every time you come up to home plate. So maybe he's ready at the end of the year. Maybe he's not. But to have a good full year under his belt at a high level would probably be the best thing that could happen for him. Plus, look, when he was in high school, he did 2 things athletically. He pitched and he hit. He didn't play basketball. He didn't play anything else. So he's got some work to do at first base.
Yeah.
And, and so one of the reasons why JT Snow is there. And, he'll eventually figure it out. I mean, I would have loved to have had a target like him.
Yeah, right.
First base.
Yeah.
So, hopefully he'll get all that figured out. And we'll see him fast because he can hit.
It's weird to say that a guy like Willy Adames is an X factor for the Giants this year, but I also put Matt Chapman in that category, and I put Jung Hoo Lee there too, in a sense that Adames, you think you know what he's going to bring, and you certainly hope you know what he's going to bring, not only defensively, but also with the bat, top of the lineup guy. And also Jung-Hoo Lee being a Giant last year, but only for such a small glimpse, and did all the right things at the beginning of the year. And I also throw Chapman in there because I think he had a good season. But Kuip, I saw Chappie play a lot of years. I think he can do even better in San Francisco. So all three of those guys, ones you count on, but also X factors to a certain degree.
Yeah, and look, it's going to be a team that's going to strike out, and there are going to be times when everybody's really frustrated with the strikeouts. Chapman strikes out, Adames strikes out.
Yep.
The kid at second strikes out. Ramos is going to, so it's there. That's going to happen. But what you don't want to have happen is to have guys swing and miss with 2 strikes with a guy on third in less than 2 outs.
Right.
And that's the one thing that they got to clean up. You can strike out, but situational hitting has to be better. And if it's not better, then we're all going to be frustrated like we were last year.
Yeah.
But they got the right guys now that if they're healthy, they have a chance to really, really improve on that.
You've been around the Giants so long to see a couple great managers like foundational pieces, Roger Craig, Dusty Baker, Bruce Bochy. I'll just name those 3 for now. Is Bob Melvin in that same category? I hope he can last as long as the others did. Is he that same category and class of those 3 names I just mentioned?
Yeah, I think he is. And and look, I'll mention Felipe Alou in that.
That's a great one.
Because,
yep.
That covers, almost
40
every
years
era that I've been as a broadcaster. And I think Bob Melvin absolutely fits into that group, mainly because he's an old catcher. He's got a great feel for the game. He trusts his instincts, and he lets the players be players. But he's got rules that, look, they're common sense rules, but he keeps track of what those rules are, and he holds these guys to those rules, and that's really, really important. And I rank him right up there with all of the guys that you mentioned. He's good, and you saw it in Oakland.
Oh yeah.
He took some really good Oakland teams to getting very close to the World Series.
I always thought that he was responsible for a couple extra wins every season, no matter the fact that the players do the work on the field, that his maneuvering and the way he treated players, the way that he kind of facilitated them always led to something else. Hey, from the personal side, if I'm doing my math correctly here, you're getting close to 40 years of broadcasting Giants games. Is that about right?
Well, I'll let you do the math. I didn't get paid in 85 because I got released in July, so they had to pay me the rest of the year. So I voluntarily went to the booth. What a great way, right? But I got paid the next year. So whatever 1986 is to now.
Yeah, almost 40 years.
Yeah.
You and Mike have been doing this for so long together. You've both been through a lot, like off the field, personal life stuff too, the last couple years. How is the fire still there for you? And I say that almost in like an amazement. Like, you've done it so long, you've done it at a high level for so long. What is it that keeps both of you so interested and motivated to the point where when I watch, it's almost like I'm watching still 25 years ago?
Well, as I sit here in our broadcast booth, he would normally be to my left. The first thing I did when I got in here is I FaceTimed him to have a look at the ballpark. And I know for him, as he sits in his chair in Reno, it doesn't take much to get the juices going for him.
Yeah.
He's a lot like your old friend, our great friend, Ray Fosse, where it doesn't take a lot to get the juices going. And just the fact that he had a chance to see the ballpark, immediately he said, look, we got to do a game. Well, we are going to do a game. It's not going to be for another month yet. But you know what? It's after a while, it's just part of your DNA where you like being around young people. Al Rosen used to say, the only way you can stay young is don't hang around old people, even if you're old. hang around young people, and we get to do that when we come to the park, during the season every day. So, yeah. We're an old married couple at this point.
I see that, and it works. It works for you. And I wanted to kind of pick on that style, too, for a second, because you both have been doing what you're doing the same way for a long time. But in this day and age of alt casts and alt broadcasts and podcast style broadcasts where it's more conversational, that's something you guys were doing decades ago. Do you still take pride in maybe, I'm not going to say inventing that style, but at least starting that style, sticking with that style? You're not a formulaic broadcast team by any means.
Yeah, the gentleman that hired me his name was Corey Bush. He was a vice president here for a long time, and he hired Joe Morgan. And then when Joe went off to do ESPN, he hired Mike. And one of the things he used to say is he said, look, we got two former players in the booth. We'll have one of you do play-by-play. We'll have the other do color. But what we really want is for you guys just to talk.
Right.
Just to have a baseball conversation like you're sitting in the dugout. And, it wasn't like we had to try to do that. That's what we did. And, I always felt like it's my job as a play-by-play guy to make my color guy the best that he can be and give him lots and lots of room. And I really believe as a broadcaster, you can talk too much. On radio, it's a lot different because you do have to talk a lot more. But sometimes you just got to let the game breathe. Hear the crowd, hear the PA announcer, and certainly let your partner do a lot of the work. And it's kind of who we are. So it's not like we're trying to do that. It's just kind of the way we were. We were like that as players in the dugout.
In retrospect, if each job was up for the taking, did you give Mike the easier job? Did you take the harder job as the play-by-play guy? I think you did.
Well, when Corey Bush said, you're going to do play-by-play, I said, no, I'm not. But why would I want to do that? I'm really comfortable doing color.
Right.
And he said, well, you can do that, or you can, go sell popcorn and peanuts down at the concession stand. So I got thrown into doing play-by-play, and I wasn't really very good at it. So it helps. It helped at that time to have somebody, and at that time it was Joe Morgan.
Yeah.
That could chatter away.
Yeah.
And Joe could chatter away. And so, yeah, at first I took the hard job, but now look, I can sit back and do a Giants game right here where I'm sitting now. And I can do like people do tennis, low. Go ahead, Mike. Fly ball to left. Go ahead, Mike. I could do that the whole game.
Right.
And he would entertain everybody.
It's good to have a partner like that. Yeah. You've seen a lot over the years and decades, but I'm not sure you've seen anything like this. Is it going to be weird when the Giants' 4th of July weekend are up at the River Cats ballpark playing the Athletics? Is that going to be just a weird scene for you at all?
Brody, I don't know what the right word is. Weird is in that category. Like not thinking that this was possible, look, in the past month or so, I've driven by where Candlestick used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I've driven by the Oakland Coliseum. And each time you drive by those spots, you're just flooded with memories. And they're not any bad memories. They're all, as crappy as some of the teams I played on at Candlestick or some of the teams I broadcasted that weren't very good, it doesn't matter. They were all great memories. And the same holds true for the Coliseum. So I still really can't believe that as I look across the bay that team is not there. And for the fans, it breaks my heart to think that all these years, families have been Oakland A's fans, and they brought the Joe Rudy jerseys, and they brought the Tejada jerseys, and they brought the Rooker jerseys, and now they're gone.
Yeah.
To me, that doesn't seem like it's possible. In a lot of ways, I blame everybody, including Major League Baseball. What Las Vegas is going to find out is no matter how great that fan base thinks they're going to be or what they think their fan base is going to be like, it'll never match the fan base that the A's had.
How do you feel about being an ambassador now of just Bay Area baseball? There's a lot of displaced Oakland A's fans. They're just baseball fans now. Do you almost feel a little bit of a responsibility to not cater to them, but to welcome them, to be inclusive to them?
Yeah, but I think the one thing that we have to be really careful of is not to assume that that great fan base over there on the other side of the bay is just going to automatically jump and be a Giants fan. We can't assume that.
Right.
We just have to assume that they're good baseball fans.
Right.
And then broadcast to them the way we would if we were broadcasting to Dodger fans or Reds fans. And I have friends that are A's fans, and they're trying to make a concerted effort to come to this park because they want to take their kids to a big league game.
Exactly right.
And look, it's unfortunate that's the only place that they can come to when that stadium over there sits empty, and that bothers me.
It's going to be a weird summer for a lot of us in a lot of ways on that topic. Last thing, and let's just get the hate flowing here. Talk a little Dodgers, Padres, Diamondbacks. Like the NL West has become such an interesting, expensive division. So what should the Giants' approach to like this season and the future be? Is it just get in the dance and see what happens, or how do you navigate all that when everybody else is doing so much and making so much noise?
Well, I think you have to play your tail off the first half of the season, and in July, figure out where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Win as many games as you can. And look, I'm so sick of hearing about, and it's not the Dodgers' fault. I mean, they've got it going right now where the best player in another country, where do they want to go?
Right.
Want to go to the Dodgers, right?
Right.
Okay, that's fine. Once Ohtani got there, you can kind of see how everything was going to shift from Japan to Los Angeles. I mean, they're good. I mean, they got an all-star probably at every position. They're certainly locked in to go into postseason. You just wonder, is this regular season boring for them? Well, it's not going to be boring for us because the Giants are going to have to scrap and claw to get to postseason. But I do think that you should always not give away the division. Go hard until it's out of reach, and then go for the wild card.
And you know what? That old saying about the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Hey, would you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Would you just show me Oracle Park real fast since you're there?
Absolutely.
Give me that same taste.
All right, let me see.
Oh, look at that. That's your
office.
office.
Looks good. Now, you probably can't see it, but they're doing some work on the Coke bottle.
I know the work that they're doing. I don't know that I'm allowed to say. I know somebody that works for Coke who told me all about it. I think people are going to like it. I just don't want to say what it is.
Wait a minute. There's a Pepsi sign hanging on.
It's not that. I guarantee you it's not that. It might be similar to that, but it's not that, I guarantee.
So the Cove looks good. I mean, the whole park really does.
Oh, yeah.
Good. So this TV and radio row's a little empty.
As it should be on March 3rd.
This was McCovey's booth.
Yeah.
When Stretch was alive and well, and also when we did the COVID games, Mike sat right there because we had the window between us. So.
Oh, the bad old days. I'm not going to say not the good old days, the bad old days.
You know what? That COVID was like I don't remember that happening.
No, It was a flash. Kuip, I really appreciate you taking the time, and thanks for doing this. The Kuiper family has always been so good to me, and wish you the best of luck this season. And I will hope to see you around and be around a little bit. I've got to figure out what to do with myself for the summer months. So,
well, I won't see you at the Danville Bowl, but I could see you at the farmers market. So.
That might happen. All right. Thanks a lot, Kuip.
You got it, Brody.